cannot be serious!
I've got that because we recorded the second You Cannot Be Serious, and because I'm just here on my own, I've never used the console before, and I didn't record the second one.
Oh,
the first,
well done. So what?
I've worked out what I did wrong, and this is the second attempt. So if
I don't remember what we talked about.
I do, Don. So if I discuss things, pretend that you haven't heard them before, will you? Because we've already discussed them, but no one knows that. I don't know why I'm mentioning it.
Jeez, this is ruining my day. I've got work to do.
This is transparency. Now, incidentally, when we left off the first one, you said that you wondered why a show that you asked me to watch on the ABC, 3 shows. One was Landline, the other was The Sound,
yes,
and the other was some other bloody show. So I don't know what it was. Anyhow, you said The Sound, wouldn't you?
Backroads, The Sounds,
yeah,
and Landline.
And you said that the Sound show, Sounds,
the Sound.
Wouldn't you think, you said in your bloody naive way, wouldn't you think they'd put it on prime time?
Exactly, it's such a good show.
Because you said you watched it at 5:30 in the afternoon. That was a replay of the week before's Sound. That was a replay of the week before's show.
So when is it shown prime time? Is it shown
9 o'clock?
What, on what day?
Well, whenever it's on. You told me when it was on.
No, you tell me what day. I'd look at it at prime time.
You were telling me that you must watch a show called Sound.
The Sound.
Wouldn't you think they'd put it on prime time?
Exactly.
It's on Sundays on prime time. You were watching a replay at 5:30 in the afternoon
Sunday
of last year's show, last week's show.
Oh, okay.
So that it is on prime time. Now, you asked me also why did I mention Ellen DeGeneres? Because she has, do you know who she is?
Yeah, but she's married to the girl from Geelong.
Yeah, Ellen, Portia de Rossi.
Yes, from Geelong.
Yeah, and she knows people from Geelong. She knows a bloke who used to play football for Geelong and North Melbourne. She apparently knows him, and he's met her over in America. Not sure if it was before she was married to Ellen. Do you know who that would be?
It'd be Lee Colbert. I worked that out.
Oh, did you? Just because I said he played football
played
for North Melbourne and Geelong, you worked it out.
It'd have to be Lee Colbert.
Could have been Doug Wade.
Oh.
But I don't think Doug would be going out with Portia. Anyhow, Lee apparently...
Could have been the ruckman. Who was a good ruckman that played at Geelong? Burke.
Damien Burke.
His brother played for North Melbourne and Geelong as well.
Did he?
Robert Scott.
Is that Damien Burke's brother, is it, Robert Scott?
Liam Pickering went the other way, didn't he? He went from North Melbourne to Geelong.
Anyhow, Ellen DeGeneres has gone the other way. She's married Portia de Rossi. And
there was another beauty came out of Geelong too.
Van den Bosch?
No, Frieger wasn't it?
Hottie Frieger.
Was that a name?
Honey.
Kid Young.
Kid Young, yep.
A barrel girl, IMT. Do you remember that? Oh, what are you snorting for?
So Honey's... So Ellen DeGeneres has been accused... We'll get on to Honey in a minute.
Geelong's produced a lot of famous
Ellen
female...
DeGeneres has been accused...
Singer. Who was the singer from Geelong? Very good. She's passed away.
Yeah, Chrissy Amphlett.
Well done. Magic.
I interviewed. So Ellen DeGeneres has been accused of bullying her staff and people at the Ellen DeGeneres show, and Portia de Rossi has defended her, come out and defended her wife. And they said that she'd been bullying, and a lot of staff members, or a few staff members, male, had been asking for sexual favours from other staff members, men and women alike, and it was toxic, the atmosphere there. So isn't that amazing?
So that's riveting news. So what's the outcome? Is it going to change world affairs? What's that?
Well, she's very popular.
Who?
Ellen. And now this great popular figure of wokeness and integrity and, all things right and righteous and everything. But toxic claims about staff asking for sexual gratification from other staff members and guests in the way of, oral sex and stuff.
Oh, excuse me.
Well, don't excuse me. That's what it says. What do you think? What do you think I make this up, do you?
Well, I don't know where you get... I don't know your sources of information. They're very obscure.
This is on the Celebrity Live broadcast output medium. Whatever I'm talking about. So she and Honey was,
Vanderbosch.
Yeah,
Krieger.
Honey Kruger or whatever you said name. She went out with Kid Young, and she's giving and she used to go out with Kid, didn't she? She was a very good-looking lass.
She was the barrel girl on IMT.
Yeah.
Graham Kennedy's.
She was from the Netherlands,
I think she's back in the Netherlands.
And put a whole new meaning to the word Dutch ovens.
Dutch ovens.
Because do you know what a Dutch oven is? Not the apocryphal Dutch oven where you break wind and you lift up the Onka Parinkas and the aroma drifts from underneath the covers into your nasal passages and gives you a bit of a start. You think, shit. Oh, well, shit, literally. I'd like to see the Depster and his missus, Amber Heard. I'd like to see them playing Dutch ovens. She actually deposited a Henry III in the bottom of the Depster's bed, and this is why they're in court. Imagine if the Depster got in and just in a moment of revelry and excitement decided he'd have a crack at the Dutch oven, and he lifted up the doona and let it flap down after he had not realised that nestling at the bottom of the bed was one of Amber's King Edward III. And he dropped the doona down and holy mackerel, it ripped his eyelashes off. Even Boo and Pistol or whatever those stupid fucking dogs are called, even they scampered outside. They thought, shit,
still around the dogs.
Before I get a kick in the ass because the Depster thinks I've shit myself, I will get outside. But it was Amber.
Where does Barney B. George figure in the whole thing?
What? Who?
Barney B. George. He's mixed up with Pistol and Boo, isn't he? Barney B. George.
Yeah, Pistol and... Didn't the Depster said they should be worried about Pistol and Boo coming in? He said, what about all the illegal drugs I flew in on the plane? Did you see that?
No.
That's what he said. He brought in more drugs that you could jump over, and they're worried about fucking Pistol and Boo. So Honey, and do you know I went out with Kid Young?
No, you went out with Kid Young.
I didn't go out with him. I used to train at his gym, Donald.
Okay.
And I remember we had a fish and chip.
Where was his gym in Geelong?
Yeah, it was Fine Street.
Nor Lane.
Oh well, all right, Nor Lane. November, I came out of we went to get some fish and chips. With Kid Young one. And we walked into the fish and chip shop and I don't know why I got to do this twice. And Kid said to the bloke cooking the fish and chips, I want 2 bits of flake and some chips, please, minimum chips. And the bloke cooked them and he put the chips and the fish on the counter and he said to Kid, do you want some salt on them? And Kid said, I do. So the bloke put his hand in his right-hand pants pocket and pulled out a fistful of salt and sprinkled it over the chips. And I thought, shit, that's odd. And the bloke said to Kid, do you want some pepper on the fish and chips? And Kid said, I do. So he put his hand in his left-hand pocket and brought out a fistful of pepper and sprinkled it over the fish and chips.
Did you think that was odd?
If you step over the punchline of this joke, Donald... So Kid said, I want some salt. And the bloke put his hand in his right-hand pocket.
We dropped that.
No, I'm recapping. Sprinkled the salt over the chips. And he said, do you want some pepper? And he put his hand in his left-hand pocket, the fish and chip hand, and sprinkled the pepper over the fish and chips. And the bloke standing behind Kid said, for Christ's sake, don't ask him for any vinegar. So that was the only experience I've had
with Kid Young and fish and chips.
That's the only experience I've had. Mind you,
Is Kid Young still around?
I don't know, but if he is, I hope he doesn't mind me telling this. In his more promiscuous days, he walked into Dunklings one day. You know Dunklings, the jeweler.
Yes.
And he pulled out his 8-day.
He's what?
his 8-day clock. He pulled out his John Thomas and he put it on the counter of Dunklings. And the woman said, "What are you doing? We fix watches here." And he said, "I know you do. Stick a couple of hands on this." That's the only experience I've had with Kid Young. So anyhow, so he was a bit off the beam.
He was off the beam.
So listen to me. So I see so that's Ellen DeGeneres. She's in a degree of trouble down there. Apparently, how would we know? How would we know? I see in the paper a woman from the northern suburbs. Please don't take this the wrong way, but a woman from the northern suburbs. This was last week. She was pulled up by the police. She was 6 times over the legal limits.
Hang on, 0.05, 6 is
I think she was 3.2. I think she was
3 point something.
3.2.
You're joking.
I reckon they should put a monument in wherever she comes from.
3.2.
She should have a monument erected. What a fantastic achievement to be able to drive a car at 6 times over the limit.
How did she get in the car?
Apparently she scraped a couple of gutters and hit just grazed a couple of cars on the way home. What an extraordinary effort. I think she should be given a gold medal.
She was
6 times over.
No, yes, but 3 point something.
3.2, Donald. People might think
what's
that
the highest you've been?
1 point.
How bad were you? I don't drink, so I don't understand.
I was pulled up.
Yeah, but how bad?
I had to mind you.
Well, how bad is 1 point something? How?
I think I was 1.4 or 8. 1.8. I lost my licence for 18 months.
I
rightly so.
Job.
20 years ago, rightly so. And I was driving magnificently. The coppers said, "Yeah, I can't believe you're driving so well."
What, did you straighten a lot of corners?
I didn't. They just, because I was out getting home at 4 in the morning. I'm not bragging about this. And it sounds like I am, but I'm not. I was irresponsible, disgraceful thing to do. Lost my licence, so I should have. Shocking. So, anyhow, but we should declare our foibles and our inadequacies. Which I've done most of my life. So Don, so I thought that's extraordinary that, now, have a listen to this, if you reckon this has gone too far. Do you know who Dr. Fauci is?
Donald Trump,
he's
medical officer for...
Well, he's the spokesman, not for the Trump government, but he's the chief medical officer in the United States, and because Trump is the president, he attends all his press conferences and that. He said that Americans now should be, I know you think I'm making this up, should be wearing face masks and goggles, eyewear, goggles, because he thinks you can get coronavirus, the Chinese coronavirus, through your eyes. Do you think things have gone overboard all around the world with the virus? It is a serious thing, the Chinese coronavirus, but I tell you what, it's unreal what precautions.
What about, can I bring up one thing? What about gloves? Gloves were the thing 6 months, 3 months ago. I don't see any mention about gloves at the moment. It's masks, no gloves. Yet we were told 3 months ago to wear masks.
And
not masks, gloves.
And so there's a lot of different things about what you can do and what you can't do during the coronavirus.
Yeah, well, what about? Hang on.
What?
There's one area.
One area?
One area.
On your body?
No, area.
Oh.
What about relationships?
Aha. So
if you're in a relationship, you're only allowed to, there's a 5K radius
or
from where you live. Now, what happens if you're in a relationship and the relationship's further away than 5Ks?
How close can you get to your partner?
Well, you're not allowed to travel.
Well,
so the relationship is...
so I think...
It's going to test a lot of relationships.
Well, I'll get this up on the machine if you just bear with me. But
once you working the machine today as well as the computer?
I've got it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
So as you get, if you are able to go and meet your partner, which I'm not sure that you can, I'll just get that up in a minute. If you can go and meet your partner, then how close, once you are in the same room or house as them, how close are you permitted to get to them? As in, can you copulate?
What?
Root. can you have sex with them?
People might be on a different level. It's just not a physical.
So if you wear a mask
relationship.
across your face, would you have to wear, say, a condom? Or would you could you have unprotected sex with your partner or anyone for that matter? Is it a law that you have to wear a condom if you've got to wear goggles and a mask? That'd be interesting. Getting into the rack with someone with a mask and goggles on. That'd be. So here it is. Here, this is the question someone has asked. Can I still visit my partner or see my kids if they live in another household?
Grandchildren, that'd be grandchildren too. I have got grandchildren.
Well, if you're visiting your kids, maybe it'd be their kids, which are by definition your grandkids. So you could visit your grandkids if they're with.
Okay, tell me what's happening.
Well, don't dismiss that, Donald.
I'm just said,
can I visit my grandkids? Well, I presume they're the kids of your son or daughter.
I understand, Johnny. I'm way ahead of you.
Yes, explains the health advisor. Yes, exemptions apply. Don, I know because I can't see you down another postcode. Just listen to me while I'm reading it off the computer. Yes, exemptions apply to allow partners to see each other even if they are more than 5 kilometres or kilometres, I say kilometres, away. So you can go and visit your loved one, a partner, man or woman or beast, and you are allowed to meet them in their, or your kids, grandkids, or your children. If they're in another household, you're allowed to meet them, Don, and if you are so worked up and need to visit your partner, I think you're allowed to go, even if it's 5K away, more than, and bed them down. bed them down, I think so. I don't think you've got to wear protection over your lips if you kiss them. I don't think you've got to wear a condom, but you'd probably have to wear a mask or goggles, which would be pretty sexy, wouldn't it? Going in and saying, hello, sweetheart, how are you, man or woman? Let me just put my goggles and my mask on, but could you take all your clothes off and then we'll get into it. Imagine the goggles clashing while you're just going to the vinegar stroke, banging on each other, the glasses, you'd smash the glasses, smash your glasses, you'd blind yourself. Oh. But my word, would the ending be a delight?
Fog up, wouldn't they?
What'd you say?
They fog up.
Oh, fog up. They said fuck up. So that would be, I think that's okay. So,
now listen, again, I don't know where we're up to with this show.
I'm trying to remember what we spoke about the last time.
I'd like to get a netballer on. Can we get a netballer as a guest? Are you listening? Hey.
Yes.
You there?
Yeah, I am.
A netballer.
Is that by
could we get a guest?
Is that by definition a woman? Or
a woman?
No.
Ladies play. Oh, well, they do play mixed competition, but the competition started last week, and I thought it'd be good to get a netballer in.
Well, why don't you get one in then?
I don't know any.
I've got guests. Incidentally, we were going to have guests today. I won't tell you who it was. We've had 3 guests lined up. They're like planes on a runway waiting to take off. People are delighted to come in here, believe it or not.
Really?
No, they are. And because they realise who we are, not what we are. And we won't announce who they are because we won't preempt it. So you could think I'm making this up, but we had some very good guests in, 2 men and a woman.
You had a woman?
Yeah, well, I had a woman lined up to come in, a very interesting woman.
Thanks for sharing it with me.
And it's pointless saying it because they're not in. Because I...
Well, off air you could have shared it with me.
Well, if you were in the same room after we finish this, we have a bit of a recap of what we spoke about. But seeing as you're away down the coast or wherever you live, I have no idea where you are, but you're not here. So here's an interesting thing. Now, this is how stupid this has gotten. In Germany, bondage clubs are still licensed and still
bondage
open.
Clubs.
S&M clubs, bondage.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you mean. Why?
And they said you can go to bondage clubs, your bondage club, as long as you wear a mask. And
that's part of the gear, isn't it?
Yeah, wearing a mask, isn't it?
No, but that's part of bondage, isn't it, mask?
That's right. So you can have your plums whipped or your snag massaged or your ass beaten with a fucking mallet. But as long as you've got a As long as you got a mask on, everything's okay.
But don't they wear a mask anyway?
I'm not the ones I've been to. Have you been to a bondage club, Donald? Have you ever been?
No, I haven't.
Why don't we go one day when we could go? You could wear some leather chaps and have your ass sticking out behind pretending you're a cowboy.
I've got some chaps.
Pardon? I knew you'd have some chaps.
I've got leather chaps.
And S&M. What does S&M mean?
Good one. Sex and
no.
What does it mean?
Sadomasochist. Sado and masochism, doesn't it? S&M.
You're telling me.
Well, I think it does.
It's an area I've never been.
Sadist, like a sadist and a masochist.
Okay.
And what they do is, people get sexual pleasure out of getting the shit beaten out of them. Well, not the shit necessarily, not genuinely the shit, but being flogged. It turns them on.
Each to his
Pain.
Own. Yeah, okay, each to his own.
No,
I haven't.
You don't know what I was going to ask you?
Yes. Have you ever experienced it? No, I haven't.
Sadism and masochism, that's what S&M means. You said sex, did you?
Yes, I did.
Have you ever taken a leather strap to one of your partners in the name of foreplay? No, people do that. They like to have the shit kicked out of them, and it turns them on. It's eroticism. What sort of, would you take a whip what would you take, some spurs? Do you like to ride someone into town?
Crop and spurs.
Yeah. One of my first friends was one of the rides at Luna Park. I got on well with her. And it was he. It was just a person. I shouldn't identify the sex. Now, so there you are. You can go, bondage clubs open. Why don't we go to a bondage club one day?
Yeah, you go. No, I'm all right. Thank you.
Now, what are you going to do? So there's a 6-week lockdown, Donald. What are you going to do to fill in the time?
Cooking.
Some what?
Cooking. I can't cook.
So
I'm going to learn to cook. I've got a cookbook.
You've got a cookbook.
Sent to me by my friend Len Petch.
Len Petch.
Do you remember Len Petch?
Is he the bloke that spoke at your...
Yes.
Is he the bloke who spoke
at
your roast?
Yes, that'll do.
Put him in the aisles, he did. Not because he was humorous. He had a whole lot of stuff he thought was humorous. He bought in a case that he said that you'd left in your locker room. They were fluffy underwear, they were manacled handcuffs, they were whips, they were... he tried to be humorous, didn't he? And went over
Petchy sent me
went over like a wrought iron hang glider. People's eyes were just sticking out like organ stops. And someone said, "Len, why don't you take a breather?" He said, "Get fucked." He said, "I'm pushing." He did, didn't he? He said, "Len, I think you're going far enough." "What would you fucking know?" In fairness to Len, he'd had a couple of drinks, I reckon. He had a fair swag on, and he had a whole book full of material, and he was going to go through the whole lot of it, whether people dragged him off the stage or not. And I remember there was some pretty somber people. Who was this? One of the directors. One of the directors who was not long out of Eton, was just come from the House of Lords in England, said, "Oh, Len, I think now would be a good time to cease." He said, "Go and fuck yourself." So I remember Len. Yeah, that was good.
Well, Len
so you're
a cookbook.
Yeah, he gave you a cookbook.
Yes.
Did he? What is
I've yet to. I just flicked through it last night.
You haven't opened it yet?
No, I'll be doing it when I finish this podcast.
Well,
I'm going to buy some ingredients, go to the supermarket.
So that's the thing, is by knowing where to buy it. So this is like, and you can get confused.
What?
This this Chinese coronavirus has really got people at odds. This bloke walked into this shop and he said to the guy behind the counter, "Have you got any Irish sausage?" And the bloke behind the counter said, "Are you Irish?" People will think this is racist, but it's not. He said, "Are you Irish?" And the guy said, "Hey, just because I asked for Irish sausage, why do you say, am I Irish?" He said, "If I asked for German sausage, would you say, am I German? If I asked for Polish sausage, would you say, am I Polish? Why do you ask, am I Irish? Because I ask for Irish sausage? And the bloke behind the counter said, because this is a hardware store.
Yes. Have I missed something? No. It's a sausage, yes. It's a hardware store.
I'm going to start this again, Don. Hello, we got a line down. This guy walks into this store.
I listened intently. I'm trying to work out the punchline.
Okay, let me just run it through you.
It's not one of your better ones.
No, let me run it through you again.
No, you don't have to.
No, please, I insist. This is for my own. This is therapy for me now. This guy walks into this store and he says, can I have some Irish sausage? And the guy says, you Irish? He said, if I said it was Irish, if I have a Polish, it would be some Polish, if it's a German. Why do you say, am I Irish? Because I asked for Irish sausage. And the guy says, because this is a hardware store.
I'm still struggling.
Okay. Now...
I'm struggling.
I'm just checking, is there something that I did wrong then? That usually is a tremendously humorous aside, just...
I have really missed it.
Okay, I'll come back to it later on. So you're going to start cooking, are you? I'm
going to try because I can't cook. I'm going to try. I'm getting out of my comfort zone.
What do you make of this? I was watching the news in America. It was on maybe CNN, I think it was CNN, and it said that 3 billion, that's B with a billion, billion, animals had perished in the bushfires in Australia. And
hang on, this is it reported in America?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
3 billion. And they sheeted the blame home to, you guessed it.
What, climate change?
Climate change. Yeah. On what basis would they justify that? Maybe correctly.
That frustrates me.
Because, we say really deforestation and clearing the land and land clearing and fill. And how would they sheet that home to climate change? Because they say the planet's warming. I think someone who's my friend from Hong Kong said, who listens to this, said that she underestimates the power of the sun to change the climate on this planet. The sun being 1.3 million times bigger than the Earth, and a sun flare goes out as big as the Earth is round, the diameter, and those solar winds can change climate. And if the Earth's axis tilts just a minute degree and exposes the poles to a fraction more sunlight, she said, and all the earthquakes and all that stuff, has got to have some bearing on the climate rather than man-made carbon emissions. Do you take any of that with a grain of salt, Donald?
No, well, what I think with regard to the fires, and I maintained this months ago, we've got to work with the Indigenous community and learn how to control our bush, because the greenies about letting the bush go is not the answer. It's just not the answer, because you saw what happened. We've got to clear the foliage.
And the Indigenous folk actually set fire purposely to the bush to regenerate growth.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And we've got to learn. We have got to learn how to manage this country.
So this bloke walks into this shop.
Not the fellow. Hang on, which fellow is this?
I'm
still trying to come to grips with the hardware shop.
I'm going to do it again.
No, please don't.
So he walks into the store and he says, can I have some Irish sausage? Why didn't you get that? Have you got a joke?
No, I haven't.
Just have you got any jokes at all?
Nothing.
Have you got any spark of humour?
No, I haven't got a skerrick of humour in my body.
That is spot on, Don. That's a joke in itself, that you haven't got any humour. Well, not one scintilla of humour.
I've got a cynical sense of humour.
Well, not one scintilla of humour in your body. You haven't. You're the most unhumorous, unfunny.
Boring?
No, you're not boring. You're eccentric.
Oh, and you're not.
I'm not eccentric.
Oh, what have we got on today? Shorts. It's 9 degrees and you're not eccentric.
That's a dress choice.
Have a look at you. You look like you've got to be eccentric to go out in the cold like you're dressed.
You look like Willy Wonka in his chocolate factory last week.
Warm.
You had more colours. What?
I'm warm.
Well, I'm warm.
It's 4 point. You're Jay. I've just gone on. It's 4.9. I've just looked at the temperature. It's 4.9.
We nearly got through it, Donald. You nearly stumbled at the last jump.
What do you mean?
You've just looked at the temperature gauge, have you?
Yes, I've got it. It's sitting up on the wall.
Well, you're in a much more colder area than I am. I'm in the city at the minute. You're down the coast somewhere, I believe.
Freezing.
Yeah, well,
I've left the horses in the stable. It's so cold.
I reckon you better give the horses away, Don.
Why?
Because they're going to. You're just not up to it anymore, mate. Are you?
I haven't ridden for 6 weeks because I've been very aggressive. You can't ride horses when you've been aggressive. I'd like to kick something but I can't express myself. I used to be able to express myself on the football field. It was a means of an outlet.
We've had that conversation, Don.
I know, but I'm
you
just
needed some sort of outside influence to get you riled up to be competitive at sport.
I need some
Didn't you
outlet
have that
to release my frustration?
Well, didn't you? Couldn't you just get yourself up when you played football and then revert back to normal civilian life after?
I did. I did, and it was a great outlet.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, now, if you've got anything to contribute down there at all, I've done Ellen DeGeneres, I've done Goggles, I've done relationships.
We've covered everything.
I've done the Irish sausage, I've done Dunklings,
I've done cookbooks,
bondage.
Football. We haven't talked about football.
We did
honey. You don't watch the football, do you? Do you watch the football?
Oh, I do, yeah. So go on, tell us about the football, just finally.
Actually, I watched it with my son the other day. And what I say typically is if it's black, it's white as far as he's concerned. But for the first time at half-time, he got up, he said, I'm going to bed. This is shocking football. And when I pass comment on the game, he's always disagreed. But I think football is...
Well...
It's not a good spectacle, John.
And here's the problem, not the problem, here's the dilemma, Don. All the ex-players, not in our generation, but not long out of it, people like, well, he's been out of it a long time, Keith Gregg, Greg Williams, plenty of the top-line players that have ever played this game are disenchanted with our game. If you are not disenchanted with it, that's fine, because you are a supporter, you're a tribal supporter of your side, you don't care how they play as long as they win. But if you're generally disinterested, not uninterested, disinterested in the game, but just like to watch it at a spectacle, the good games are few and far between.
Tony Jewell brought up a good point. I was working with Tony last week, and he brought up a good point. When we played scratch matches as kids, the rules, we'd umpire at the games ourselves amongst your mates. There was a mark, a free kick for pushing the back, holding the ball, or a trip. They were so black and white. There is so much interpretation in the game now. It's not as clear-cut. We didn't argue, carry on. We just said that was free kick, that's a mark, and on went the game. And it was far more black and white and easier to understand. But now, with the invention, everybody's involved now and everybody's got to be heard, and the game is just not what it used to be.
And do you know who much slack we cut? The umpire.
Sorry?
Do you know who much slack we cut? We cut too much slack for the umpires. The umpires
really haven't got much to do with it, John. I think
the umpires have got everything to do with it. They over-umpire the game.
If you sit and watch the game, they don't really have that much of an influence on the game.
But
it's the players who make the mistakes, not the umpires.
The umpires over-umpire the game. A pretty simple game.
There's a lot of pressure on the umpire, and it's unfairly directed at the umpire.
Don't agree.
You don't agree?
No,
I think
the umpires
got a lot
are
to do
so
with it.
interested in umpiring from the book rather than umpiring from watching it, just managing the game rather than trying to control it. But anyhow, that's a story for another day. Your great friend who gave you the cooking book, Len Petch, has he got an opinion on the football? Do you speak to Len much after the roast?
Yes, I speak to him all the time.
Yeah,
but we talk about other things, the countryside and what's
how did he go? Was any blowback after the roast, or he, Len telling? He was very funny. He was. In fairness to Len, when he got up, he did say he'd had a couple.
I did speak to Liz, his partner.
Was she there?
Liz was at the roast.
Yeah, what did she say?
And I spoke to her a couple of days later. I said, how's Len? after the roast. And she said, if you thought that was bad, you should have been at his daughter's wedding. Oh, can you imagine?
I think alcohol's his mortal enemy. I think he got alcoholically propelled, and probably loses all sense of timing, or not timing. I think not quite appropriate. He was very funny. It was. If you sat back, I sat back and watched people in the audience who, a couple of them had slid under the table after I think he brought out some crusted knickers from a kit bag which he pretended was yours that you left at the Waverley Stadium after Hawthorn vacated the area to go back to Linton Oval or wherever you live, wherever the club lives. And people were just gobsmacked at Len, who couldn't have given a continental about what anyone thought. As he say, he had a thick manuscript of jokes and things that he'd got out of Milton Berle's joke book. Milton Berle's got a joke book that's got 5 million jokes in it, and Len had written about 500 of them out, and he was going to go through every one of them methodically until he got to about the 400th. And he said, I don't know, he said, what about when he said,
oh, no, please,
he said, Don walked
please.
Down the street one day and there's this black Labrador sitting there licking its agates. It was a male Labrador because its agates were up like Jonathan apples and it was rolling its tongue over the top of them. And Don looked down at the dog and he said, by geez, I'd love to be able to do that. And the owner said, well, you'd better pat it first or it'll bite your fucking head off. That went over like a fly wire door in a submarine. People looked at him and they thought, would Don ever have done that? So that was Lenny boy. So it was good. So it was good. Yeah. So there. All right. Well, look.
My friend bought a parents along, and they're in their later.
What did he do?
A friend bought a parents along, and they're in their 80s. I don't think they'd ever been to a function like that before.
No, I don't know. It was interesting. Now, could you just tell me? I'm out of the loop. Can you tell me what is happening on the football? Who is on top or last, or who is?
I think Port Adelaide. I saw. Is that right? I'm missing it because a lot of it's played on Foxtel. I don't get it at night, but I think Port Adelaide are on top.
Port Adelaide. All right, I'll go with that. And who is? So that's who's last? Who's not
now,
going
I think
well?
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
They'd be down the bottom, surely. Melbourne.
Were you just guessing, or were you hoping?
I'm guessing.
All right.
Adelaide. No, hang on. The other side. How bad are they? Adelaide.
I don't know. Have they won a game?
No.
Adelaide haven't won a game. No. And the coach still there?
Yes, Matthew Nix.
Matthew Nix.
Played at Sydney.
So how does... So therefore it's not the coaches, it's the cattle you got under you, isn't it? So where's your side, Hawthorn, after you've...
They won a game on the weekend, but the older players played well once again, and if the older players play well, so do they. But it's difficult for those older players to come up week after week. So I think Hawthorn are really at the crossroads.
So have we worked out where the grand final's being played?
Won't be played in Melbourne, I think Brisbane.
I see. Well, there you are. So that's it. So Porter on top, you reckon? Adelaide, the other Adelaide side are down the bottom, and your side is who knows?
Well, they're inside of the 8, but the 8 only rewards mediocrity anyway.
Mediocrity.
Well,
mediocrity.
No, you're the dictionary. If you had Michael here, he'd be able to clarify it because he goes straight to the dictionary.
Okay, mediocre. Is it mediocrity or mediocrity? Mediocrity. All right, there we are. I don't know that that's right.
Got the theme, music? Is it ready to go?
Yeah, just a minute before you go.
Yep. I've got to do some work.
Okay.
Can't be hanging around here all day. Come on. You there?
Yep, mediocre. Definitely.
What are you?
Mediocre. You said it's mediocrity. It's mediocrity, isn't it? Mediocrity.
Who cares?
You said mediocrity. No, he said T. No, you didn't.
I don't listen.
Okay, well, Don.
We're all still going to go around, so don't worry about it.
What's the weather like down where you are?
Shocking.
Is it?
I told you the horse is in the stable. It's cold.
Righto. Well, you go and bed down with it. So that's it. we're out